Just 4 days before the New York Jets home opener against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they received some devastating news about an injured player on their offense. What impact does that injury have, and how can the coaching staff pivot from here? We'll get into that, plus a Steelers preview because it is still game week. I'm fired up for this one. Let's get into it.
Want you to bring that here, all right? Go out there and press him and choke him out.
What's going on, Jets fans? It's your boy DT back with another live stream. Thank you all for tuning in. It is Thursday night, just 4 days away from the opening kickoff between the Jets and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unfortunately, it doesn't come without some injury news. Of course, it has to be to the offensive line, right? The bread and butter of what this team is all supposed to be about. Unfortunately, the news comes down at 9:30 this morning, first reported by Diana Rossini, then followed up with more specifications, from Adam Schefter. He says it is an arm injury. He's going to miss significant time. At first, we were just kind of holding hope, right, that it was the Justin Fields situation all over again. He got stepped on in practice and got carted off the field during training camp, and he ended up being okay, right? Just a dislocated toe, and he was back to practice a couple days later. This doesn't seem to be the case for Alijah Vera-Tucker, unfortunately, and it is a torn tricep. It is believed, it is feared, it is believed, whatever the wording or phrasing was specifically, but no concrete confirmation yet, right? But it is a torn tricep, allegedly. This would be the second torn tricep for Alijah Vera-Tucker in his career. It is the other arm. I believe the first torn tricep was in his right arm, so now this one would be his left arm. So the same injury, but a different arm. 3 seasons now cut short for Alijah Vera-Tucker, or where he will miss significant time. I have a couple of ideas on how we think the coaching staff is going to pivot from here. Obviously, first and foremost, I think the most obvious one would be, and I'll pull up a graphic here, would be to slide Joe Tippmann, their current starting center, over to right guard and just slide Josh Myers, the backup center, into the starting role. This was the competition that Aaron Glenn talked about quite a bit in the training camp portions of the offseason, right? It was a competition. When they signed Myers in free agency, they wanted to give him a chance to compete and start. Obviously, most of us thought Joe Tippmann was going to be the starting center. That still could be the case, but I think the most likely path to replace Alijah Vera-Tucker right now is, unfortunately, to move Tippmann over to right guard. So, in my opinion, you downgrade at 2 spots, right? AVT to Tippmann is a bit of a downgrade, not a significant one, but a bit of a downgrade. And then Tippmann to Josh Myers is a significant downgrade at center. So unfortunately, you're looking at 2 downgrades at the position, but that's pretty much what it's going to be when you lose your best offensive lineman. So that is the first way that they could try to combat this injury. The second way would be to keep Tippmann at center, keep Josh Myers on the bench, and vault up Xavier Newman to right guard, and potentially use his NFL experience over the last couple of seasons to combat this. And you still have insurance right at the center position, and you still have Tippmann to use later on down the road. Either path that they choose, obviously the O-line Tetris, as the guys at Badlands labeled it, the O-line Tetris has begun. And when you're viewing this offensive line as a whole, it looked really strong on paper, right? You had 5 good quality starters, and then you had at least 2 or 3 backups you felt pretty confident in. Now that the lens has changed and it's either Xavier Newman or Josh Myers in the starting position, you feel a little bit less confident about it. So unfortunately, we will see on Sunday just exactly how they combat this injury, but it's a significant injury, right? A lot of the success in the preseason came from running off of the right-hand side, whether it was AVT and Membu in the B gap or running off tackle in the C gap. They ran to the right quite a bit, and they liked Alijah Vera-Tucker moving in space. And it's unfortunate he's in a contract year. So for him, the individual, it is super shitty, right? There's no other way to put it. It's just unfortunate. It's shitty for him that this happens in a contract year. But it seems to be a consistent pattern with AVT. We lost him in 2022 to the triceps, and then in 2023 to the Achilles. So he was our best offensive lineman. I think there's a case to be made that maybe Fashanu, Membu, even Tittman could have a higher ceiling than AVT because of his injury history and his availability history with the team. So I'm not completely panicked about the offensive line, but it does take a significant hit at a time where you're about to face an elite front seven or damn good front seven in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you have Cam Hayward now lining up across from either Xavier Newman or Josh Myers, and you have Keanu Benton lining up across from those guys as well. So I'm certainly not hitting the panic button on the Jets. I'm not, drastically changing my record prediction. If I had the Jets at 7, I probably still have them at 7, maybe 6.5. There's just a couple games you just might not give the lean to because of this injury, but I still think there's plenty of season ahead for this Jets team to turn it around, and it all is going to come down to coaching. The onus is now on Aaron Glenn, Tanner Engstrand, and Steve Hyden, the offensive line coach, the new first-year offensive line coach, to get the best out of their players. Can they develop a Newman or a Myers, Max Mitchell potentially to be a starting quality player? I don't know, right? And I don't have the highest hopes for those guys, but I'm not by any means panicking. I feel pretty confident that the Jets are still going to be able to run the ball. You just have to now game plan much, much more effectively. If you're Tanner Engstrand, right? Like, how are you going to, are you going to run right behind Newman and still utilize Membu and his strengths? I'm not quite sure. So in my opinion, and we'll get to the preview, I think you're just going to end up putting a tight end attached to Membu at all times across from TJ Watt. So that would be my first game plan. And then you just try to mitigate your right guard as much as possible. Maybe you don't have him pulling in space. I can't speak to whether Myers or Newman are good at pulling in space. I know Tittman is very good when he moves in space. So I'm pretty confident with him still. It's just you have to game plan way too specifically now, and it puts the onus on all those guys. And it puts the onus on Darren Muji eventually because you have contract years for both your guards. Do you think that – hold on. No, Alan, I'm not saying Max Mitchell is starting. I don't know what you hear. Like my microphone has a filter on it and you hear different words. I said, can they develop these guys into something that you can at least feel confident about as your backups? I'm not saying he's going to be the starter. He'd be the third option I'd put in at right guard right now. And I didn't even give that option to put him in at right guard. But he has played right guard in the NFL. So can they at least get something out of him where they can get you out of a game at right guard? By no means is he a starter. So I just think it's just going to put an onus on all these guys. And unfortunately, it's right off the bat against a really good team. So with that, we can break into a couple of your questions regarding just the injury, and then I'll talk about the Steelers game preview. Let's see. Ray Winter says this could also let Tittman focus on blocking the guy in front of him and not snapping the ball over the place. For all we know, he could have a great game or great year at guard for 17 games. Yeah, no, I certainly agree with this. And there are many people out there that think he is a better suited NFL level guard than a center. So that's fine. And I'm not, Tittman at right guard isn't the worry. It's more of if it's Newman or Myers. Like those are guys that I'm starting to worry about. Again, not panicking. But yeah, there's a very good case to be made that Tittman could still put on a better season at guard than he could at center. And yes, the snaps, there were a couple snaps in the preseason that were outside the frame of Justin Fields. So that would definitely be something that could see an upgrade. But is Josh Myers the best center at that also? Like it's hard to tell, right? Like where was the line being drawn in this coaching, in the eyes of the coaching staff with this competition? Where was Myers viewed as better than Tittman? Is it calling out the mic? Is it getting the protection straight? Like what is the part of Myers that he did better than Tittman? If it's just purely snapping the ball, then maybe, yeah, there's a case to be made that this couldn't be not the worst thing in the world. Peter Castro, I love you, man. He says, you better not sell out. Absolutely not, Peter. My prediction doesn't really change. Like I said, AVT doesn't go from a 7-win season to a 4 or 5-win season, in my opinion. So I don't think it drastically changes the season-long output of the Jets. But it does, like I said, it just creates a more a steeper uphill battle, I should say, for this coaching staff to prove that they can actually get the best out of these players. But no, by no means am I selling out or panicking. It's a sad day. Of course, you feel bad for AVT. You feel bad we're the Jets. We're going to do the whole we're cursed and blame Joe Namath and SOJ and all that. And that's fine. Like, I've had a couple hours to sit on it. Luckily, I get, these types of news bombs when I'm at work. So I have like time to think about something else other than the injury, right? I'm focusing on work and not getting bit by black widows and wolf spiders today. But then I come home and I have 2 or 3 hours to sit on it. And I'm like, okay, it's not the end of the world, but it's not my immediate reaction, which was definitely very, very bummed for AVT and the Jets. The Brooklyn boys in the house, he says, what's up, DT? I appreciate you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Ray says, definitely a somber day for Jets fans, of course. And it's definitely a bad day. It's a sad day for AVT, right? Like, I'm not sure how many people wanted to go back and watch the Amazon series that they just put out about the 2024 season, but they followed AVT and his, I believe now fiance or wife. And, it's tough when you see guys like that you want to root for get injured. I knew this was coming, Alan, so I started. Tittman is a guard. Draft Iowa center Logan Jones on day 2 in April. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to set the record straight right now, Alan, okay? If Logan Jones is as good as you've talked him up to be, and there's a good case that he might be the best center in college football coming out of the draft, there is a very good case to be made for him as that guy. What's to say he's there on day 2? What's to say he doesn't go top 25 like Tyler Linderbaum did, and the Jets are picking at, in your opinion, probably top 7 at 6 and 11 with your prediction. They're 20 spots, 15 spots, 18 spots ahead of where Logan Jones gets drafted at 24. So then what? They can't draft him on day 2. They're probably going to have to draft an offensive lineman, but in my mind, Logan Jones is closer to a first-round pick than a second-round pick. So unless the Jets trade back and get this guy, I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. So I just wanted to set the record straight. Maybe Tittman is a better guard. I know you're one that has been pushing this. So I'm not denying this. I'm not fully on board with it. I want to see it first, but he has played right guard and he played left guard this preseason. So I'm not completely off it. But Logan Jones, I think, is a first-round pick. Jets Johnny says LFG DT time. I appreciate you, Jets Johnny. Let's see what else we got. Hayward, Benton, and Black could have fun on Sunday. That's possible, and we'll get into the preview. I think it definitely plays more to their advantage, obviously, but I think there's ways to combat this defensive line. We saw it happen last year, even in that game. I think it was like week 6 or whatever it was. You know how it happened with the Garrett Wilson deflected interception and all that. I think that was Devontae's first game, and then we got the speech from Devontae. TJ Watt wasn't a game wrecker in that game. So I think there's ways to combat it. I do need to make a formal congratulations to our very own Party with Peg and Artie. They just got their marriage license today. The ceremony is on October. That's a great day. October 10th is perfect. First of all, my favorite number is 10. So you get 10-10. And then it's also my youngest dog's birthday. So that's a great day. I'm happy for you guys. A 2-piece in the community now becomes the ultimate one-piece combo. And I'm very happy for you guys. Pat says, what's up, DT? Is there any free agents available? Can we make a trade? And what would that look like? Anybody on your brain? So when these things happen to the Jets, I don't immediately rush to over the cap and find the free agents who are available. There's been some names floated out there. I think John Feliciano is probably the one that stuck with me the most. Just because I feel like he's more of the scheme we want to run, but what's to say an aging player like that or a guy like Brandon Scherf coming out of retirement I don't see that one happening either. So no, I don't really have like a name to invoke here as like, oh, this is their best option. I truly think their best options are going to come from in-house right now, the guys who were in camp. Peter says he's always hurt. Let's move on. That's absolutely true. 60% of his seasons in the NFL have ended, with a brutal injury, right? 2 biceps and then a torn Achilles as well. So very, very unfortunate, and you don't want to see it. But yeah, it kind of proves the point that if he does get a second contract from the Jets, it's going to be minimal. It's going to be 1 year, prove it completely. And unfortunately, he was looking at maybe potentially $20 million a year if he had the season most people thought he was going to have. So just it hurts all around for AVT, for Jets fans. It's definitely a brutal day right before the season. Rich says wolf spiders. Yes, I posted a couple pictures. I think they were in Jake's Discord, maybe Nick Shines as well. But I posted some pictures of some of the spiders I encountered today. A wolf spider, multiple wolf spiders. They were all dug up in holes with little egg sacs. And then there were some black widows and a garden weaver. And that thing was cool. The garden weaver had a really cool web. So it was definitely interesting today. Not trying to become Spider-Man. Although maybe that'll get Charles Gorman back in my favor. David D says, Dylan, who do you believe is the Jets' number 3 option at center behind Tittman or Myers? It's tough. Looking at the depth chart as it stands right now, I guess I would say Cole Laval, who's on the practice squad. I don't know. He doesn't have a ton of snapping experience, and I don't think Marquise Hayes played center in preseason. So, yeah, I would just say Cole Laval, but unfortunately, that's another reason. Like, if you get down to your third center, like, you're kind of screwed, which makes me believe they want to keep Tittman at center because if he were to get hurt, you put Myers in, and then you have Myers and Newman next to each other. So, I don't know. I want to keep the insurance at center on the bench as long as possible, and I think not starting Myers at center would obviously do that. Yeah, we'll get into it, Peter. Blitz up the middle, put Rodgers on his ass. That's certainly a way to do it. Harrison Phillips did it last year to us. Hopefully he can do it again. Nate Dogg checking in. What's up, man? I appreciate you. Yo Holmes. Yes, it's a great day, man. October 10th is a great day. Shout out to your mom. Yeah, we got to know who's invited to this party, Peg and Artie. If this ceremony does not include several of the Jets fans in the community, then what are we doing here? No, it'll be cool to have an early celebration with you guys in Tampa Bay. That'll be great. Shots of fireball all around in honor of you guys. Pat says, was that the exact same tricep torn or was it a different arm? Yeah, so it seems like it was the same injury, but to a different arm. So I think the one in 2022 was his right triceps, and this one is his left triceps. So same injury, but a different arm. AG's Burner says, has Muji said anything about going out and getting guard? So the thing is, when he spoke at the podium with Robbie Payton, the other day, that is the last time that he is contractually obligated to speak to the media until right after, I think the Tuesday after the trade deadline, right? So we are not going to hear from Darren Muji for quite a while. I think tomorrow we hear from AG. I don't know if it's going to be before or after practice. So that would be the closest news we get in terms of how they plan on handling this situation. But in terms of Muji speaking, he doesn't have to speak again until after the trade deadline. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, Papa Jet, I didn't run into any snakes, but down the back of my boss's property, there's a little bit of like a creek, and we didn't go down there today. So we just experienced the spiders and a couple frogs and things of that. A lot of grasshoppers and crickets, but no snakes, thankfully. David D, of course, I always appreciate you tuning in. I love that we have fans of other teams coming into the community. You guys are awesome. And you don't do it the way of 6 rings either. You come in and You guys are respectful, even if we disagree, and you don't come in flopping things on the desk thinking you're Big Meech. So I appreciate that, David. Jojo says, "What's up, everybody?" Jojo, I love the updated picture of your dog. I like that it's more zoomed in because your dog is very cute, and I like looking at it. So appreciate you tuning in, Jojo. Yes, and you will be in Tampa. That's great. I'm happy to be able to meet so many cool people in this community. I'm so fired up for Tampa. I'm fired up for this weekend. If you guys are going to be there in the chat, certainly let me know. We'll get to the preview stuff. I just want to talk to you guys for a little bit, if that's okay. They might, Paganardi, they might add an interior lineman via the free agency, excuse me. Like I said, I don't really know the name to invoke here, so I'm not quite sure who it would be. John Feliciano, I guess, would be the name that that would be, my biggest, okay, I would be okay with this. But I believe he's up there in age. I think he's over 30, so it doesn't fit Buffalo Jet fans' John Simpson rules, so maybe it's not the best idea. David D says, possible Muji will do a radio interview before the deadline. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. I'm not quite sure how often Joe Douglas did in-season radio stuff, and I would assume that if I had to guess, Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji and the Jets in general want to do things as least as possible, right? Like, he's going to give out the information at the very last second. He's not going to open up media availability as much as possible. They're scaling back even on like the in-house content that they're coming out with. So I definitely think AG wants less information out there. Brooklyn Boys with the prediction 1K subs by week 3. If the Jets are 0-2, staring 0-3 down the barrel, this might not look good for me, but I appreciate this, Brooklyn Boys, and I hope so. My goal was 1,000 subs by week 1. Unfortunately, that didn't it looks like it's not going to happen. I can't say it hasn't. It might happen still, but I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm pretty optimistic though. And 800, whatever I have, I'm completely grateful to this entire community and all the memberships I've gotten. I've tried to put out more exclusive membership content for people at the A1 since day 1 tier. So if you guys want to get in on the memberships or gift the memberships, that's certainly appreciated, and you'll get a lot more film breakdowns in that one. I guess just for a peek, I gave 3 plays of Garrett Nussmeier for all viewers, right? That was the free version, 3 plays, and the entire version is just for members only, and that's 9 plays. And that one was just about a half hour worth of Garrett Nussmeier film. So that's going to be my plan moving forward, is to give a condensed version for all people, and then the lengthier version for the people who pay to be a member, because I want to incentivize the memberships for sure, because I think the exclusive content's great. It always gets monetized on my end, or demonetized on my end if I post film. So I don't want to create an entire, week worth of copyright material. I don't even know how to say that word, copyrighted material. So that's why I'm kind of incentivizing the memberships. But that's kind of my thinking there, is you're going to get a ton of exclusive content with the memberships, and it's only $5. So I know I wanted to make it cheaper, but you can't adjust the prices. You can only make different membership tiers, and I didn't want to make it confusing. So it's at $5, but you're getting tons of content. EF with a funny question about my background. This where did you get the sign that says "Don't bother me"? Actually, my stepdad went through this phase where he was really into like the Dremel tool and routing and stuff. And I'm pretty sure he Dremeled that whole thing out. Maybe I'm misremembering it, and that's the story I was told, and he just bought it from some store. But I'm pretty sure he was like doing a whole routing thing for like a year. He had like this fad, and he was making signs for people in my family, and I'm pretty sure he made that one. So that's where I got it. It's kind of a cool piece. I like it a lot. Jets Jesus says, without AVT, do you think this is still the best O-line Fields has had? I haven't looked. I guess I haven't looked in a while at like who the players were. I can say in Chicago, yeah, absolutely, this was the best he's ever had compared to Chicago. I guess it would really come down to what you think of last year's Steelers offensive line, and I don't really think the highest of the Steelers offensive line right now. So yeah, I would say even without AVT, this could still be the best offensive line unit. I'm still confident in Fashanu. Simpson's healthy off the back. Tippmann, regardless of where he's playing, and Membu, I still have high hopes for. So, yeah, I think even having 4 solid pieces would be better than what he's had. Yeah, AG, I don't see us signing anybody of like value, and trying to package up for a trade is really hard right now. Everybody wants to keep their offensive linemen. Nobody ever wants to get rid of them, especially a week before the season starts. Maybe you hit up Jerry Jones and you try to get, Tyler Smith or something like that, because he's prone to trading his best players before the season. But other than that, it's going to be hard to find a guy who's like going to inspire a ton of confidence compared to the guys in-house. AG again says, hopefully Newman can step up and we can add some depth behind him. Yeah, absolutely. That's the key. And coaching staff has to hit on some guys and develop these guys, right? Steve Hyden has to do his job well, at least better than Keith Carter did it the last couple seasons. Peter says, Dylan's the best. Subscribe. Absolutely. Please consider liking and subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. You don't have to become a member of the A1 since day one community, but I would certainly appreciate subscribing. We're trying to get to 1,000. Get full monetization on the channel, and really make this a thing where I can quit my day job on Mondays and bring you guys more content. Taylor Sterling says, smash that like button. Yes, following up, like and subscribe. Absolutely. Taylor, I need to hit you up, man. You're way too close to where I live, and my resources are depleted, if you know what I mean. So I need to hit you up. Hey, shout out Mama Duke. She's in the chat. Everybody say hello to my mother. My smart son, you are doing amazing. Thank you, Mom. I appreciate that. Everybody say hello to Mama D in the chat. That's awesome. Ray, again, hit the like button for the guy. Absolutely, please. It's always appreciated. Yeah, that's a good point, David D. They might not sign an offensive lineman or anybody for that matter until after game 1, because then the contract says it doesn't have to be guaranteed. So that is a very good point. And maybe you're looking at, edge position for that same reason entering week 2. Oh, here we go. Nate Dogg, 10 spot. Appreciate you, Nate. This is awesome. Trying to see the positives. Move Tip to a more valuable position. Hopefully he emerges as a top guard. We didn't lose a tackle, DN, corner. Yeah, you're right. Yep, we didn't lose a premium position. Don't have to pay a top money to an injured guard. Just replace center. Yeah, absolutely. There are definitely silver linings to it, right? We don't think we're going to get locked into a 4-year, $92 million contract with AVT anymore, right? It's going to look like a 1-year, $9 million contract at best, right? I feel like he lost a lot of money, unfortunately. And yeah, he could still, you could still emerge as a good right guard in Joe Tippmann for sure. You didn't lose a premium position. That's another great call out. It's really important to stress your premium positions, obviously. And yeah, I love the positivity, Nate. I know it's hard for people to be positive today, but I appreciate that a lot. I always try to look at the positives of these things. And you just feel bad for AVT. So I appreciate that, Nate. The 10 spot is always appreciated. Followed up by JoJo gifting 5 memberships. So we have 5 new members of the A1 since day one community. I got to pull it up on my phone because I just hardwired my internet. I took about an hour today figuring out how to hardwire my internet. So hopefully the connection is better for you guys. But I'm going to see who got the memberships right now from JoJo. Let's see. Peter Castro got a membership. AG's Burner got a membership. Johnny Boy, Genergy, and Indy Jets. Wow. So a 5-pack of heavy hitters becoming members of the A1 since day one community. JoJo, thank you so much. That is greatly, greatly appreciated. Let's see what else we got. We'll pivot to the Jets Steelers preview soon, but you guys seem to have a lot of comments about this AVT injury. So Peter, I love this. Fields will win this game himself. Yeah, when the pocket breaks down, that boy's going to run anyway, so it doesn't matter. Let's see. Pagan Artie says, got 2 Eagles fans watching DT. Is that true? Who are the Eagles fans? Show yourselves. Always nice to have other fans in here. It's always appreciated for sure. Yo, Holmes, the plan is still the plan. Absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised if we heard a little bit more of that sentiment from AG today. EF, I agree. Seeing how they come out and play on Sunday will tell us a lot about the culture that they're trying to build. 100%. It's really important to establish a good culture. First game as a coaching staff. We gotta be loud. I'll be in the stadium. We gotta be loud for AG. We gotta belt that Jets chant out as loud as we can. Get him a little emotional and fired up before the game because the players are going to feed off that energy. And it might not be that there's no Eagles content creators, Peg and Artie. It's just the fact that they don't do what the Jets content community does. And I think that's what separates us from the other 31 teams. I'm not an expert on all those teams, right? But it seems like Jets content creators specifically put out such quality content that it attracts other fan bases. Johnny boy, what's good, Brody? I appreciate you, man. And you just became a member of the community. So thank you for being a part of it, and enjoy some of those film breakdowns that I got in the members only tier. That's a good call out. AG Tittman has similarities to Frank Ragnow, a former, I guess, player under Steve Hyden and Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engstrand, so somebody they're familiar with. Yeah, Hank Fraley. He was somebody that I thought would, just take the outright coaching job for the Jets. I thought he would just come over with AG as one of the guys. Not terribly upset about Steve Hyden, although he didn't come with a ton of experience, but you're learning under guys that have really good experience. So, like, I would take a guy that Bill Callahan coached, I would take one of those guys. So Steve Hyden, I guess, would kind of fit that mold. Stephen Fox says, hi, Dylan, in the chat. Appreciate you, Stephen, for tuning in. EF says, hi, Mama D. Johnny Boy says, hello, Mama D. Appreciate you guys. David, Peg and Artie. Oh, everybody's shouting around. Oh, this is a couple minutes ago. I'm a little bit behind. JoJo, Jersey Jet, Ray Winters. You all just earned brownie points for shouting out my mom. Thank you. Tip is more valuable at center. So there's people that definitely think this. I go back and forth. I think he's a good player at either position. So I'm just interested to see how it works out on Sunday and what the exact lineup is going to be. Yeah, we talked about this, Yo Holmes. I already said my piece about Logan Jones. We talked about this. I don't think Allen's going to get his wish, unfortunately. Let's see what else we got. We're going to pivot. Taylor, please email me. My email is on my YouTube page. Shoot me an email or some kind of social media direct message. We will get in contact. Nate, the plan is still to start a center at center. AG was ahead of this. Yeah. Oh, man. I laugh at these interactions that he has, specifically with Rich Samini, right? It always seems like it's Rich, which is cool. I think it's more playful than anything else. So I actually like the interactions that he has. Yeah, EF, they are predicting, I think it was 48% is the latest I saw. Steelers fans at MetLife. Unfortunately, my cousin and I are going, and she is a Steelers fan. Nick Shine did promise me a spot under his tent tailgating if it rains, and I told her that she doesn't get a spot under the tent, so she'll be drinking in the rain. Johnny Boy says DT. So with Tip moving over to guard, well, it's not confirmed yet, so we assume that's what's going to happen. But isn't that a good thing for Membu? A center is always said to be another quarterback on the field, so wouldn't that benefit Membu? Yeah, and that's something I talked about with somebody earlier today. Was like, who does the mic points, right? I don't remember if it was Tittman or if it was AVT. Like, did they give AVT the captain's badge because he points out the mic and he helps out Justin Fields and he kind of is an extension of the quarterback in that sense? Or was it Tittman? I don't remember. I'll have to go back and watch the preseason and see how they did it. But yeah, I think having an experienced player next to Membu is going to help more than, in that from this perspective, yes, Newman would be the worst person to put next to him. Myers would then be the next guy, and then Tittman would probably be your best for this perspective, putting a veteran player next to Membu. Yeah, I could see it this way. But that's a good call out. Membu would definitely benefit from Tittman next to him. Peg and Artie, you guys are on like Eagle watch. I love it. This is great. We got Eagles fans. We'll attract them all. I love it. Yeah, Nate, center is also the least valuable position on the line. I've actually had, several debates with one of my best friends, one of my longest friends about this. He used to always say right tackle was more important, and I thought it was center just because of like the mic pointing and setting the protections. But it's certainly left tackle, right tackle, and then your guards probably combined for third, and then center would be the least valuable. I agree. All right, let's see what else we got. And I see you guys talking about the dollars and the value and everything for sure. For sure. Oh, here we go. Tiffany, we've found the Eagles fan. She has come out of hiding. She says, "Hey Dylan, Eagles fan here, live from Artie's living room. We have an ongoing deal. LOL, I'm a Jets fan on Sunday since the Eagles aren't playing." Well, Tiffany, I will reciprocate that positive energy because I am the proud owner of a Jalen Hurts autographed rookie card. I bought it when he was probably like 3 weeks after the Eagles drafted him for $38, and it's currently valued at about $500 to $600 on eBay. So I am a closet Eagles fan just from the perspective that I want Jalen Hurts to make me a shitload of money. So happy to have you here, Tiffany. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Nate, can you say value one more time in the chat for me? I appreciate it. I keep scrolling and all I see is value. I love it. Maisie says, if you cannot replace a guard, it was going to be a long season anyway. Absolutely. They had to have – these coaches think of contingency plans, right? If X player goes down, what is the backup? If this player goes down, what is the backup? So they do all the combinations of the offensive linemen, right, ahead of time. They go through all these scenarios on paper. So I'm not saying I'm fully confident that they'll get Newman or Myers to play well, but I'm confident that they at least had a plan. Tiffany says maybe I'll learn something about the Jets being subbed. Yeah, you hopefully will be, very knowledgeable about the Jets from this channel. That is certainly my objective, to come prepared and informed in hopes that I can inform you guys. Oh, okay. So this is your guys' personal account. I had to read this twice. Peg and Artie say, can't wait to hang out with you in Tampa. Absolutely. I'm not a drinker, right? I'll do the Ricky New York smoking debate with you, but poolside, but I'll take some shots to celebrate your guys' wedding for sure. All right. With that, we can hop over to the second half of this, which is going to be a Steelers Jets preview. I broke down pretty much every position group, and I compared where I thought the Jets were better than the Steelers and where I thought the Steelers were better than the Jets. We have 100 people in the room, so before I do that, please smash the like button, subscribe. I made this subscribers only, so you will have to subscribe to comment, but I appreciate that. Taylor, thank you. I appreciate it. Jojo, I'm so excited to meet you guys too down in Tampa. But yeah, hit that subscribe button for sure. I appreciate it. Become part of the community. Consider becoming a member at $5 to the A1 Since Day One community. You'll unlock a lot of exclusive content, mostly film breakdowns. So with that, we will open it up to the preview. Whoa, I have the quarterback one all wrong. So we're going to skip that slide. Why do I have this so wrong? Okay. I didn't change the quarterbacks. That's a complete oversight on my part. I changed every other position group for the Jets. So this is going to look wonky for the offensive side of it. I can't go back and fix it. We're doing it live. That's what happens. So we know who the Jets quarterbacks are. It's not Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson. Honestly, I'm pretty happy about that it's not those two guys, because I have a little bit more confidence in Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor based on this offense. So Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor for the Jets, Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph for the Steelers. I feel like it's a no-brainer, right? The Steelers have the better quarterback, a future Hall of Famer, 4-time NFL MVP. Our former signal caller, Aaron Rodgers, is unfortunately better than Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields fits our offense better than Rodgers would, but that doesn't mean anything, to be honest. I think he's the more talented player. So Steelers get the easy W at the quarterback position. Not really much to analyze there. The next slide is the running backs. And we have obviously our three-headed monster, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. Compared to the Steelers, Jaylen Warren, Caleb Johnson, and Kenny Gainwell, I have to give this to the Jets. I think Breece Hall and Braylon Allen are super special. Isaiah Davis gives you a ton of pass protection, route running. I think he's a very versatile running back 3. I know Jaylen Warren just signed a pretty sizable deal. I think it was 2 years, $12 million to stay in Pittsburgh. Rookie Caleb Johnson, the noted Iowa Hawkeye from Allen in the chat. And then Kenny Gainwell as their spell third back. I mean, I don't hate it, but it's clear cut to me that, yeah, Nate, I know, man. I know. I tried really hard to make my graphics pretty, but I used a format from clearly 2023 where I did the same types of things and I compared the positions, and I forgot. All right. I forgot. I'm bad at my job, Nate. I'm going to need you to help me with my slideshow presentations moving forward. But the Jets have the better three-headed monster at the running back position. That was an easy call. Jets win in that battle. Moving to the wide receivers, kind of the tail of the tape is the same, right? You have a really stud receiver at the top, Garrett Wilson and DK Metcalf for the Steelers, obviously. And then after that, it gets some pretty scary hours, right? Josh Reynolds, Allen Lazard, and Arian Smith. God damn you, Nate. Josh Reynolds, Allen Lazard, and Arian Smith certainly don't inspire a ton of confidence, but I'm looking over at Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, and Scotty Miller. Calvin Austin has been a little bit banged up most of the training camp. I have him in one of my fantasy leagues, so I know that. Roman Wilson is a complete unknown, although there are some that like him in the league, and a lot of fans like him as well. But I do think it is slightly more in favor of the Jets. I just think Garrett Wilson's better than DK Metcalf, and the combination of the next three guys is better than the three for the Steelers. So although it's kind of built similarly, right? One guy at the top and then a bunch of question marks, I like the construction of our wide receiver room a little bit better, thus busting the myth that the Jets have the worst wide receiver room in the NFL. Next, we have the tight end position. For some reason, the Jets continue to list Jeremy Ruckert as the starting tight end over rookie Mason Taylor. I disagree with it heavily. You can also include Stone Smart and Andrew Beck in here. Doesn't really move the needle a ton, but they are solid 3 and 4 tight ends. And then Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith. They have another tight end who I'm blanking on as well, but you get the point. Those two guys at the top, Freiermuth and Smith, are better than Ruckert and Taylor. Obviously, that's just a complete unknown in Taylor until we see it. And Jonnu Smith historically has, gotten the better of the Jets, especially in Miami. Those tight end screens in overtime was awful. Steven says Jelani Woods. That's another good name. Yeah, I don't know if he moves the needle a ton, and it'll be interesting with, 4 tight ends and Andrew Beck, how they decide to play it, like who's going to be on the game day 48 and who's not. So we'll see. Steelers could be a sneaky good in the end zone with 2 tight ends as possible. Yeah, AG, that's definitely going to be part of it, and we'll talk about it right after I do the offensive line, but I think the offensive game plan for both teams is going to be similar. with that offensive line, I do think the Jets have the better offensive line, even without Alijah Vera-Tucker. If you tell me who the best offensive lineman is on the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'll believe you. I don't think it's really like clear cut. Okay, maybe it's Isaac Seumalo. Maybe it's Zach Frazier. Maybe they like the upside of Troy Fontenot, the rookie from last year, who a lot of Jets fans really liked. But I still think even without AVT, the 4 offensive linemen that the Jets have are still really good. So I would take the Jets with Fashanu, Simpson. In this one, I have Myers, Tippmann, Membu. And I would take it even if Newman was in the lineup instead of Myers. So I definitely think this is an area where the Jets can take advantage. But from an offensive perspective, though, I do think both teams want to run a lot of the same things, right? Taylor jokes in the comments, 41 personnel. And I don't know how sarcastic that actually is, because I do think that, well, it would be 14 personnel, because running backs go first, then tight ends. But it's going to be a lot of 12, maybe 13 personnel for the Jets. Darnell Washington, that's the tight end I kept blanking on for the Steelers. He's their third guy. So they're going to want to run a lot of heavy 12, 13 personnel and run the ball just like the Jets want to do. My only concern from a Steelers perspective is we know how Aaron Rodgers works. We know how he operates. If the run game isn't popping or coming to fruition as they want, I think he's going to get a little antsy and want to throw the ball more. Whereas the Jets will grind it out and get those dirty 4 or 5 yards every single time until they find their way into the end zone. So I guess that would be the only advantage, I think, right? If in terms of game planning, is the game plan is going to be similar. Heavy personnels run the ball, but can the Jets just hold out and do it longer, right? As long as you're not down 10, 14, 20 points, which I don't anticipate, you will still be able to run the ball in neutral game scripts against the Steelers. So we'll get to the defensive side of it, obviously, but I really think that, going heavy, 12 personnel, 13 personnel on both sides, both offenses, is going to be the way that these guys want to attack it. With that, we can get Zach Wilson the hell off our screen. Sorry again, Nate. You can look at your screen again and your eyes will not bleed. Defensive side, you see it here. We broke it down into 5 positions: edge, interior defensive line, linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties. First up, edge position. This got to go to the Steelers. They have the best outright edge player in TJ Watt. I think they also have a very, very good second edge player in Alonzo Highsmith. Nick Herbig, is also very good. And Jack Sawyer is a second-year player or maybe even a rookie from Ohio State. So he's got a ways to go in his development, but I still think they're the better unit. Obviously, I like what the Jets have in Johnson if he's healthy, and McDonald, but then it gets a little bit, bleak with Clemens, Barron, and McGregor, and I really want a free agent addition into this room to make me feel a little bit more confident. I still have high hopes for them and pretty high expectations for those guys. I would expect McDonald to be like a 12 and a half sack type of guy. Jermaine Johnson, I hope he's getting about 5 or 6 sacks and really helping in the run game. So not to say the Jets are shit, but the Steelers are a little bit better at the edge. Moving inside to the interior defensive line, this would have been an easy Steelers victory if the Jets never signed or traded, for Harrison Phillips. Harrison Phillips, the addition of him certainly rounds out this room much better. I feel a lot better about it with the 4 names here. Quinnen and J2 Fele are more of your pass rushers, and then Harrison Phillips, Jawan Briggs are more of your run stuffers. You also have Leonard Taylor III, who leans towards pass rush, and Quinnen's honestly just a do-it-all guy. He's going to be better in the run game this year. So I do think the lean goes to the Jets, although Cameron Hayward, future Hall of Famer, obviously. Keanu Benton is somebody I really loved out of Wisconsin. And Y.A. Black, yes, I said it right, Alan, Y.A. Black, and this is the last time I hope to ever talk about this guy. He is the 3rd interior defensive lineman for the Steelers. Next, we have the linebacker unit. This is, top heavy for the Jets. It's also top heavy for the Steelers. I think their depth guys are a little, they're bad, just like ours. Like, let's be honest. But Quincy Williams and Jamien Sherwood, you have a former All-Pro in Quincy. You have a potential Pro Bowl caliber guy in Jamien Sherwood just coming off the extension. And then you have Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson on the opposite side. Patrick Queen is a very good linebacker. I love what he does. I loved him in Baltimore even. And Peyton Wilson out of North Carolina State, I actually got a chance to interview him down at the Senior Bowl. I asked him a question about who he models his game after, and he said he likes to watch Luke Kuechly, and he's a very, cerebral player because of watching Luke Kuechly and picking his brain. So I loved that answer from Peyton Wilson. I still think the Jets are better, to be honest, but I do like the linebackers in Pittsburgh for sure. And I guess our third guy would probably be Kiko Malinoa, the rookie from Miami. If they're going base 4-3, it might be Kiko. It could also be McCreary Ball, their special teams captain as well. Take a second, say what's up to Blaze. He says, yo, sup, Dylan in chat. Wish I seen you go live earlier. That's why you got to hit the bell notification. Get those notifications for when we go live, Blaze. I appreciate you tuning in, as always. Yeah, David, there is a lot of former Badgers in this matchup here. Moving on, we have the cornerback room. And I think this is where I might get the most pushback. I think a lot of players, or not players, a lot of fans rather, like the optics of Joey Porter, Darius Slay, and Jalen Ramsey in the slot. I'm sorry, but Jalen Ramsey is the firstborn son of Garrett Wilson. So I'm really not that high on Jalen at the end of his career. He's still a good player. He's played slot before and he's played safety even. I don't think that's going to be a matchup that Steelers fans are feeling confident about. Maybe, Joey Porter against Josh Reynolds or Darius Slay and Arian Smith or however they divvy that up. But if Jalen Ramsey's going against Garrett Wilson, I don't like that matchup for Jalen. And then obviously the Jets on their side, they got Sauce Gardner, Brandon Stevens, and Michael Carter. I can't believe I left off Nate's guy, Quantez Stiggers, but we got to talk about him, A.Z. Thomas. Like, the depth at corner is just way too deep for the Jets, and this is an easy one for me. I like Joey Porter. He's okay. He's a little handsy. He's more handsy than Sauce. He's literally the Walmart version of Sauce now that I'm thinking about it. Like, for the amount of complaining, screw you, Nate, for the amount of complaining that people do about Sauce, like non-Jets fans do about complaining about Sauce and his handsiness and not getting the penalties. Joey Porter is literally that. You know what, Nate? Just unsub, man. No one wants you here anyway, Nate. No, I'm just playing. It is nearly unsub worthy. More putting Zach Wilson on than not having Quantez. But you know what? We can debate this Sunday at MetLife, Nate. When I finally get to meet you, hopefully you don't run me over with your e-bike after this one. But this one, I just lean to the Jets. I feel like it's pretty easy one here. Two-time All-Pro is going to stand out over everybody else. And then the final position group is safety. I don't feel that high on the safety position of the Jets as a whole. I love Malachi Moore. I'm not huge on Tony Adams, and Andre Cisco, I believe, can be good. It's just I have to see it. I'm not going to, write him off for that one play against the Giants, but I just need to see it from Cisco. So it's still a work in progress at the position. I think Deshaun Elliott and Juan Thornhill and even Miles Kilbrew, he was, I believe, named a special teams captain for the Steelers, or maybe even a defensive captain outright for the Steelers. I think he's solid too. So I like the trio that the Steelers have slightly better, but it's more so I think I'm just down on the Jets' actual safety room more so than I love the Steelers. And then the last two position groups, we have special teams and coaching. I included in this as well. Special teams, Nick Folk, Austin McNamara, Thomas Hennessy. Those are the Jets guys. And the Steelers have Chris Boswell, Corliss Waitman, and Christian Kuntz. To be honest, I don't know much about their punter or long snapper. We know how we feel about our long snapper, our longest tenured player on the team, and Austin McNamara at punter was very good this preseason. I guess for me, it came down to Chris Boswell versus Nick Folk. And while I think Nick Folk is going to do fine, I still think that Chris Boswell's just more clutch. He's going to hit his kicks too. So I gave the slight lean to the Steelers, but this could be either one, and I wouldn't be mad. And we'll see how the numbers add up. But this one was a kind of the pivot point, right? And then you have coaching: Aaron Glenn, Tanner Engstrand, Steve Wilkes, and Chris Banjo for the Jets. And then on the Steelers side, you have Mike Tomlin, Arthur Smith, Terrell Austin, and Danny Smith. This I gave to the Steelers. Obviously, it's just experience, right? You have to give the experience to Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin is as consistent as they come, even if it isn't the 12-5 record or whatever, 13-4 record every year. He's still above 500 the last 16 seasons. We're talking about a Jets team that hasn't sniffed a playoff berth in 15 seasons, and this guy has been consistently 500 or better in that same amount of time. Easy to go with the Steelers here. So when you tally it all up, there's 12 total position groups, including coaching. I have 6 for the Jets and 6 for the Steelers. So that's basically just to show you how close I really think this matchup is. It's going to come down to the finer details of the game, right? Coaching, situational moments, right? Who does the better 2-minute offense, 4-minute offense? Who's able to go down and get that field goal before the half and possibly swing the momentum going into the locker room. It's little things like that. Who's going to be able to, Stephen Fox, you took the words right out of my mouth. Who's going to be able to get those crucial takeaways, right? If the Jets are able to run the ball and not turn the ball over a ton, like you can survive 1 turnover. You can't survive 3. Like that's just not going to happen. And if you can control the time of possession, limit your turnovers, it doesn't really matter what happens on the other end of the field because you have, the best chance to win based on those things. Obviously, you need your defense to show up so that Aaron Rodgers doesn't kill you. Do I think Aaron Rodgers is going to kill the Jets? No. To be honest, I really don't. I remember what happened when the Jets went up to Green Bay and played Aaron Rodgers. I do need to, acknowledge that he had a broken thumb in that game and he really couldn't grip the football. It didn't matter. If he could even throw the ball in that game, Quinnen Williams was all over him. And I understand it's a different offensive line. Green Bay is not the Steelers. I would even go to say that the 2022 Packers offensive line is better than the Steelers offensive line this year. So there's a good chance that Quinnen Williams is your X factor. We talked about it offensively. You want to go heavy and try to run the ball. Defensively, I think it's more just trying to contain the run as best as possible. You don't want to force Rodgers to throw it, but you also can't blitz him as heavily as everybody wants to. Rodgers is very good against the blitz. He gets the ball out so quickly. He's the exact opposite of Justin Fields in terms of time to throw, right? Justin Fields is in the bottom 5. Aaron Rodgers is always in the top 5 in terms of time to throw and how fast he gets the ball out. You need to be able to have sound pre-snap alignment from your defense, and you really need to clamp down on these wide receivers, disrupt the timing of these routes, get DK Metcalf, out of his focus. It's not hard to do. We've seen it happen before, especially last year when Sauce played him when the Jets were playing against Seattle. There was a lot of times where DK, couldn't get a yard. I remember that slant in the end zone to DK. He was just so fed up, and he did not like Sauce, basically bodying him that whole game. So I do think those are the takeaways. It's really going to come down to turnovers, limiting your turnovers, obviously, and time of possession. Just keep Rodgers on the sideline as long as possible. Try to grind out a 10 to 12 play drive, even if it ends in a field goal. Just don't let it end in a punt or a turnover. And I think that's really going to be the key to success. I'm not going to say the Jets should be favored by any means. You just saw me break it down. I was split 50-50. I literally would say the Jets are like 51-49 at this point. Like I could go either way on this game. I'm going to predict the Jets to win. I'm also going to predict it to be a very, very ugly game, like 17-13 type ugly. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. The over under is dropping. I believe it went from 38.5 to 37.5 at some books. I would still take the under. I don't think a lot of points are going to be scored in this game. Rodgers starting slow is usually, what happens a lot of times. He's got to get chemistry with his receivers. We have to get chemistry on our entire offense and coaching staff. So I'm very, very split on this game, but I can see the Jets pulling it out despite being 2.5-point home dogs. David says, Dylan, as much as important as field position is in a typical NFL game, I believe field position will be that much more important in this game. Every yard is critical in what shapes up as a defensive battle. Yes, 1,000%. The difference, and that's why turnovers make a huge part of this too. If you're able to intercept Rodgers and start on the plus side of the 50, that is going to dramatically increase your chances. Like, I could not overstate the importance of trying to get a short field for Justin. Again, even if it results in a field goal, right? You start your drive inside the 50 at like the 46, and you gain 20 yards on your drive and you kick a field goal. I don't care. Like, just get points off turnovers, end your drives with some kind of points. Please don't punt. Please don't turn the ball over. If we see a whole bunch of 3-and-outs and we can't even cross midfield, then we're going to have a lot of issues in the game. And then it's really going to be, okay, we need a turnover and the defense needs to score. And we can't live in that world anymore where we have to rely on the defense to score more points than our offense. Excuse me. Peter Castro, I love this prediction. Rodgers will throw a pick six, not just an interception, but a pick six, and Fields will score 2 on the ground. So you're projecting at least 3 touchdowns for the Jets. So that's anywhere from 18 to 21 points. I think that would be plenty enough to win the game, Peter. So I would be so happy if that happened. AG says our wide receiver twos are going to see a lot of single coverage most of the time. I agree. And whether it's, Josh Reynolds in 12 personnel, or it's Lazard, Reynolds, Wilson in the slot in 11 personnel, I think you will see some packages of 12 personnel where it's Wilson and Arian Smith, and that could be where they try to go deep and take those shots. I do see a scenario where wide receiver 2 can still get his, right? Like I said, I don't think Darius Slay is a world beater anymore. He was at one time. I think you can throw at him and not be too worried. And the same with Joey Porter. Yeah, this is another good point too. The Angstrand Ben Johnson combination targeted tight end Sam Laporta 100 times in his rookie year. I don't know if I see 120 targets for Mason Taylor, but I certainly see 80 to 85 for him as a rookie. And if he can haul in like 50 to 55 of those with 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, I think that would be perfect. Yo, Holmes, the plan is 3rd and short, 100%. Get 3 yards on first down, get 3 or 4 yards on second down, put yourself in a 3rd and 4 or shorter situation, because then you can run it still, right? You can try to get it to 4th and 1 and do the tush push or a regular QB sneak or anything to the running backs that you have in the backfield. So the game plan is certainly going to be, 4 yards at a time, and that's fine. I'm completely okay with that strategy. Obviously, I want to see them take their shots and try to gain explosives, because that's also the name of the game. But if you're averaging 4 yards a play and you're having 10 to 12 play drives, you're ending up in the end zone more often than not, or you're getting into field goal range. Addy says, I see a battle of field goals. Yeah, that could be a thing. Nick Folk versus Chris Boswell, that could be certainly a thing. Charles B. just woke up from hibernation and came out from under his rock. Yes, AVT is injured, unfortunately, and I'm just messing with you, Charles. But yeah, the news broke at 9:30 this morning. AVT suffered what is feared to believe a torn triceps, and he could be out for a year. Kevin Tatz, shout out to you. I appreciate you, man. He says, I still think that Simpson and Taylor are not 100% healthy. That is a possibility. Tyrod Taylor was listed on the injury report today with a knee injury. They didn't practice, but they projected him to be a limited participant. John Simpson, though, was not on the injury report. So if he was injured, he would have to be it would have to have been disclosed on that injury report. Maybe it's, not as serious, but I do think Simpson is healthy. Maybe not 100%, but unfortunately this league doesn't allow you to be 100% for much of the time during the season. Sharon McLean, shout out to you, Sharon. I appreciate you always. Your engagement is awesome. I love all your comments on my videos. Cisco will score on a pick six. Well, Peter Castro predicted the pick six. Sharon says she predicts it to be Andre Cisco, so I absolutely love that. Thank you again, Sharon. Rich says, jet the F up. Absolutely, Rich. We got to do it, man. We got to be loud on Sunday, too. If you guys are going to the game, I'll be there. Hopefully, I see you guys at the tailgate. I'm tailgating with Talking Jets and Tailgate Joe. So I think it's lot E26 or something like that. So definitely come out and see me. And we definitely got to be loud. We definitely got to be loud in that stadium. Oh, you're talking about Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor looks like he's 100%. He came back in that joint practice, and he had the deep catch on the left sideline against the Giants, and I felt like he was back ever since. So I think it was like the lowest grade sprain for Mason. But again, I don't think any of these guys are 100%. That's a good point. Slay is up there in age, 13th NFL season. His legs certainly aren't the same as they used to be. I love this, Peter. Final score 21-10. And the Jets get 5 sacks. I keep saying 2 or 2.5 sacks would probably be ideal and would give you the best chance. But obviously 5 sacks, you're really putting a hurting on Aaron Rodgers, who has not been hit since the game against Miami with the Jets. Was the last time he took a hit in an NFL game. He didn't play any of the preseason. I don't think obviously you can't tackle him in training camp when he's got the quarterback, jersey on in training camp. They can't hit him. So he hasn't been hit in a long time. And I think that's going to be important. Kevin, the fact that you live in the year 2025 and play fantasy with kickers still is kind of crazy to me. No, I'm just playing. I don't do kickers in fantasy. I hate that shit. To miss a 63-yard field goal at the half just because you want to try it and the clock's going to run out and you miss it and you lose a game because your kicker loses a point. I can't do kickers in fantasy. Unless all field goals are worth 3 and you lose no points on a miss. AG with some biceps history here. I think Bob Sanders, shout out Bob. He was such a hitter, man. He was a hitter. He had a triceps or biceps injury within a couple of years and was pretty much out of the league. Yeah, that's kind of been floated out there, unfortunately, about AVT. I'm not sure if it's going to be that serious. But, yeah, it's unfortunate. You can't have that many injuries as a young player and expect to have a long career here. But that's why the NFL stands for not for long. Charles, yeah, we're getting there. I think the Browns still hold the title just because they continue making a joke of themselves with the decisions they make. But the Jets are certainly there, my friend. Yeah, Mason Taylor, he's fine. He'll be fine. He's only 20. He'll be fine. Mike Dees, what's up, man? I appreciate you tuning in. He said, run the ball, control the clock, cut down on the penalties. Yeah, 100%. Aggressive penalties, are okay, but not the boneheaded illegal formations, illegal shifts, false starts, none of that stuff. Delay of games, none of that shit is going to be acceptable. And I think that's the stuff that's going to get under the Jets fans' skin the fastest. AG, I don't know how a safety is supposed to help Quinnen rush the passer. I know you're talking about Harrison Phillips, and you got your Harrisons confused here. That's all good. But yeah, this is definitely going to help. I think I said this on Nick Shine's show on Sunday. Shout out to Nick Shine. Everybody go subscribe to his channel. He's trying to reach 1,700 before the season opener. I said to him that Harrison Phillips kind of rounds out this room in a way that John Franklin Myers did, not from a schematics standpoint or play style standpoint, but from the like camaraderie perspective. I think he's going to be an instant leader in that room and bring everybody together and get these guys fired up to play. So there you go, AJ. You got it right. I'm just busting on you. Let's see what else we got in the chat. Yeah, Kevin Tats, you understand about kickers. Alan says, with Vera-Tucker out, do you still see the Jets running the ball predominantly to the right? I would have to go back and look at my play charting and see in the preseason just how often they ran to the right or left. But I think it was still like pretty even split. If I'm being honest, Alan, I don't think they ran to the right a lot, but I think like that big Donovan Edwards run, like things like that, like a lot of that stuff came off the right side. But if you're in a situation of like short yardage, you're probably going to run behind your strength, which is the right side. So yeah, short yardage situations, I certainly see it. But I think you can also, pull a guy to the left and, just have numbers in space. And I think it's going to be more of a split. Nate, I would prefer to have Harrison Phillips based on the roster that we have now. I think he fits much better, and we can, supplement guys at safety. Like I really like Malachi Moore, and I think Cisco's still going to be fine this year. Whereas if we had Harrison Smith and no guy next to Quinnen we felt good about, I don't want to see Jawan Briggs play a ton of, early down snaps unless we absolutely have to. This is an interesting one from Charles. After week 1 of college, I like Carson Beck, Arch Manning, woof. Yeah, I mean, Arch did not look great. It almost looked like he was hurt a little bit. I'm not doing a film dive on him because he's just I don't believe he's going to declare. I'm not going to do any film dives on him until he actually declares or, does like a Senior Bowl type event. But Carson Beck, I forget who did they play? Oh, they played Notre Dame, right? Miami played Notre Dame. I didn't watch that game. That was Sunday night. I forget what I was doing. That was the one game I forgot to tune into, but I'm not a huge Carson Beck guy. But if that's your guy, that's cool. I think a lot of people are spread out in terms of who they like at quarterback. I did a Garrett Nussmeier review on the channel for members only, and I did a John Mateer from Oklahoma film breakdown for members only. So a little bit of an incentive for you guys to become a member of the A1 Since Day One community. I would certainly appreciate that. We have over 30 members already, so shout out to everybody who is already in that tier. And I hope you guys are enjoying those film breakdowns because you're going to get a ton of those, both college and NFL. AG says, do I see Malachi Moore hitting the field much in nickel packages? I don't think it's nickel. Maybe big. It would have to be big nickel, right? Because he's a safety. So then it would be him, Adams, and Cisco on the field and Michael Carter not on the field. But I don't like that. I like Michael Carter on the field. So maybe you see more dime looks where Malachi Moore is in the slot, Michael Carter's in the slot, and then you have Sauce and Stevens on the perimeter. But I would like to see Malachi Moore involved in this. I don't know what the safety rotation is going to look like. I don't know if they're just going to play 2 guys and just keep them about, they're going to play 98 to 100% of the snaps. I feel like a lot of times under Saleh, that's what the safeties did. They were just out there on every single play. But I think it's going to look a lot different on the back end, and I hope they do a lot more rotating because Malachi Moore could be like your shop right version of Brian Branch. There was a chat here from AG's burner I wanted to put up. Harrison Phillips said something awesome during an interview. He said he wants to play till his little boy could grow up and see him play. So you think he's going to be motivated for years to come, being 29, 30? Yeah, a lot of times, not all the time, but health willing, some of these D tackles can play late into their careers. So obviously I don't know if that would be all with the Jets, but I would love to see Phillips this year. Next year they still have him on a deal, but they can get out of it. They can restructure, give him an extension for 2 more years. I would like to see Phillips stick around. I know they only gave up a couple, like the value of a 6th-round pick for him, but I would still like to see him stay on the team. Maisie with the ultimate point here. Allen might be, the only person who loves Y.A. Black more than Allen is his mother, is Y.A. Black's mother. I'm still under the assumption that Allen is somehow paid by Iowa, whether it's booster programs or something, to just chat up about Iowa players. Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson, best wide receiver quarterback tandem in college football. I haven't gotten eyes on Sam Levitt, I'll be honest. I don't even know what team that is. I think it's Arizona State, right? I think you've told me about Sam Levitt before, Alan, but I have not watched him, honestly. I still would say that the best quarterback wide receiver duo is probably Julian Sain and Jeremiah Smith, but that's more Jeremiah Smith carrying the team there. Yo, Holmes, that's funny. AG, yeah, Brian Branch was the nickel in Detroit, and I think Malachi Moore does a lot of similar things. When I was still putting out content for Jet Nation, you can find it on their YouTube. I did a breakdown of most of the rookies, AZ, Malachi, Arian Smith, and I likened Malachi Moore to that watered down Brian Branch role for sure. There's about 120 of you guys in the room right now. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you are new. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subs by week 1. Maybe we won't get there, but we're certainly going to keep pushing to get that done. I appreciate that. If you want to subscribe, $5 will get you in the door at the A1 since day one tier, and you will get exclusive film breakdowns and videos. Hoping to put out at least 2 exclusive members videos a week. I got to see what the in-season schedule is really going to look like, but we shall see. PBM, I'm still upset, DT. We can all be upset, right? We can be upset for both AVT, the person, the Jets as fans. We can be upset for the fans. I guess my counter argument to you specifically, Mike, would be, what was your wins projection for the Jets yesterday, and what was your wins projection for the Jets today? I don't know if it's going to change more than a game. You know, if I went, like I said, I went from maybe 7 to 6.5. So if you want to say you get the less benefit of the doubt for one game, okay. I just don't see AVT making us go from like a 8-win team to a 5-win team. I'm not quite sure I'm there yet, but you have every right to be upset. And I love that you are living and dying day to day with this team. Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man. We're at the first tier of monetizations, memberships, and super chats. Obviously, a lot of you guys have already, taken advantage of those features. For the members in the chat, you do get some emojis to use. So if anybody wants to use some of those cool emojis that I worked really hard to make, I would appreciate that in the chat. That'd be cool. Sharon says orange is the new black. Could you imagine if there was an NFL player on the Steelers named Orange? That would be funny. And then he took Y.A. Black's job because maybe Allen is overselling how good this guy is and maybe he's not ready. And some guy named Orange took his spot. That'd be hilarious, Sharon. Thank you. This is the quality comments that I love from Sharon all over my channel. Thank you so much. AG, I agree. I think they're going to clamp them. The corners versus their wide receivers, I feel much, much better about than their corners versus our wide receivers. I would take our wide receivers and our corners like I did, in the side-by-side tail of the tape. But I think as a matchup, I would take our wide receivers and our cornerbacks, 100%. I would take their defensive line over our offensive line, but I would take our defensive line over their offensive line as well. Bill M says jet up. Appreciate you, man. Absolutely. Yeah, DK size has never been a problem for Sauce. If anything, it's the guys like Tyreek Hill that give him more of a problem because they're shifty and can run away from him in man coverage. Oh, yeah, Jets Jesus. Come on, man. Less than half the likes? Come on, we got to get that up if that's true. What the heck are we doing? Smash that like button, please. I greatly appreciate it. It will just put me in front of the eyes of more viewers, and that will help grow the channel. That would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you for that, Jets Jesus. All right, Mike. Really? we're gonna have to have a talk tomorrow afternoon. I'm gonna need you to call into Jake's show, and we're gonna have a talk about this. And you're gonna have to explain to me how AVT amounts to 3 wins. I'm willing to hear you out, and I'm telling you right now, I already disagree, but I want to hear it. There we go. Nate Dog, we can't see him. Well, I see you. Let's see. Nate puts some in there. EF puts some in there. JoJo. Hell yeah. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. Alan with a great question. How do the Jets defend 13 personnel on Sunday? I think Freiermuth and Smith are mismatches. Who the hell is Smith? Oh, Jonnu Smith. Jesus Christ. When there's no first name attached, I get so lost. Yeah, they're definitely mismatches, and Smith has definitely killed the Jets before. Darnell Washington would be an extension of the offensive line just due to his size. So if they want to keep a guy into chip, I would anticipate Jeremy Rucker or Andrew Beck being attached to Armand Membu's hip for the Jets. So I would probably anticipate the same thing going the other way. Whoever is on McDonald, if it's Broderick Jones, I would assume Washington or Freiermuth is going to be attached to that guy's hip and really try to knock him off his spot. So I think you would have to put an extra linebacker on the field also. That doesn't, inspire a ton of confidence, but this is a situation where to the other question about nickel and Malachi Moore, if you want to play big nickel and you want to let Malachi Moore be your box, slash slot guy, right? Your overhang player, we'll call it. And you want to keep Jamian and Quincy in as your linebackers, and you can bring on Kiko Maligoa, you're only substituting Michael Carter off the field for Malachi Moore. And I think you're probably going to get, I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough one. That's the biggest crux, right? Is when the Steelers go heavy, how do the Jets combat it with heavy personnel and try to make it work? I would say it's either going to be a third linebacker or Malachi Moore, and maybe you lean towards Malachi Moore because I just think he's more of a heady player, a cerebral player. He can give you more versatility as well, and he can still come down and crack guys in the run game. So maybe it does come down to Malachi Moore being the guy, but that's a great question, Alan. Yo, Holmes, the plan is the plan. There's nothing to worry about, of course. Yeah, Linderbaum was picked right before Jermaine, but they were trying to trade up for Jermaine for a while, right? And they had their eyes set on Jermaine. They weren't going to take Linderbaum. As much as I loved Linderbaum in that situation. If they came away with Sauce, Garrett, and Linderbaum, it's actually hilarious. I wanted Kyle Hamilton too. So the two guys that the Ravens got were guys that I wanted the Jets to target. Still happy with who they got, obviously. Nate, yes, we're going to play defensive linemen on the defensive line, and linebackers will be on the field. Nate is currently fielding offers as a defensive coordinator, so any team out there looking, that is your guy. The key to not getting torched over the middle by their tight ends, like I said, probably Malachi Moore. Maybe you put Michael Carter on one of these guys. Cisco or Adams is going to probably have to play a lot more man coverage against these tight ends. I don't want to really line up your linebackers in man coverage against their tight ends, but I think guys like Malachi Moore will be certainly involved. Oh, you're joking, Sharon. Orange is a D tackle at Iowa State. Not only is that Allen's least favorite school, I presume, but that's actually hilarious that he does play the same position. You couldn't even write it. Thank you for that information. Georgie, you big goon in the chat, throwing some DT emojis out there. I appreciate you. Mayzie, yes, we're all on the ride. We are tall enough to ride the ride, the PBM roller coaster. I appreciate PBM. He despite his volatility and emotion, I stay pretty even keeled when I listen to PBM. Daniel says 21-13 Steelers. I think a lot of Jets fans overlooking AVT's injury. I don't know if we're overlooking it. I honestly think it's the other way around. I think a lot of Jets fans are overreacting and saying the season's over and it's, 0-17 and it's not good. The game was going to be low scoring regardless, whether AVT was in or not. Does he hinder your plans to be able to run the ball as effectively as you want? Absolutely. But I can't say AVT is going to lose us all these games. If this is a game where, it's pretty 50-50, and yes, the lack of AVT could hurt you here. Absolutely. But I don't think it's something that we're overlooking. And Daniel, if I'm not mistaken, I believe you're the Dolphins fan. So shout out to you being in the chat, being a Dolphins fan. That's awesome. Charles says, I was at 4 wins. Oh, I'm glad StreamYard is not going to allow me to put up your comment. There it goes. Charles says, I was at 4 wins. Now I think we're on track for the number 1 pick. That's fine. I think the Saints and the Titans still have the inside track at the number 1 pick. Alan, the Jets are a 6-11 team. Yeah, I have them at 7. So if you want to say 6-11, I'm not gonna kill you over it. Alan says, hey, DT, what's up, man? I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Charles says, this is a covert tank. Well, I don't necessarily appreciate your negativity, but I understand it. I don't think the Jets are tanking by any means. It's a discovery year. They're pulling up the carpets. They're ripping down the sheetrock. They're finding, what the bones of this house look like at One Jets Drive, and they're going to act accordingly next year, regardless of what the results are this year. PBM, DT, we lost our most dominant run blocker, and we were going to win games by run blocking. Now Myers is in, and he stinks. Well, we haven't seen who the replacement is. It could still be Newman. But, yeah, the sentiment isn't completely off base. We did lose our best offensive lineman. In my opinion, I think he was our best. And, yeah, that was going to be the strength of the team. But I just don't think you can throw out the whole operation, right, with the AVT injury. It is meaningful, though. It's certainly meaningful. AG says, honestly, I could see, well, you are AG, so, tell us what you're going to do. Don't just say you could see it. Tell us what you're going to do, AG. Gosh. Honestly, I can see AG attacking the shallow intermediate to try to take the Steelers' tight ends away. And I think we give up some presence up front to get the Jets to run into Sherwood and Quincy. Linebackers are definitely going to be a big part of this game. Whether they're covering the tight ends, whether they're up against the running backs, certainly going to be important. I think if the Jets are able to eliminate the shallow and intermediate stuff, those quick hitters from Rodgers, it's going to bode well for us because it gives, that extra half second for Jermaine or Will or Quinnen to get home. So, yeah, if you can eliminate the shallow and intermediate, I'm not really worried about when the ball goes up in the air because of our corners. So, yeah, you're onto something here, AG, and I hope you take your own advice and do this. We got Clancy in the chat. Guess AVT isn't getting paid. Yeah, that's something. I mean, I predicted it too. If he had a good season, I could have saw him being paid somewhere between Zach Tom and Trey Smith money, right? $24 million a year. Obviously, he would have had to prove he could stay healthy, but now I think they pivot and take a round 2 or round 3 guy, right? Obviously, everybody wants to, pick quarterback in the first round, and then you maybe go wide receiver or defensive tackle, and then you can come back and get an offensive lineman in the top 100, and you still should be fine. Let's see what else we got. Robin Boy Wonder says, what's up, DT? Appreciate you tuning in, Robin. Thank you. Always happy to have you. AG, I think Sauce slows down DK, and I like our linebackers versus their running backs and our DTs clogging up the middle. Yeah, I feel really good about Quinnen and Phillips versus Sayamalu, Frazier, and McCormick for the Steelers. I feel really good about that matchup. And I think pressure up the middle on Rodgers is usually the most effective because he can't bounce outside the tackle box. So if you have your edge rushers, more of a contained rush, and you can have Quinnen and Harrison pushing up the middle, Rodgers is going to have some fits. Let's see what else we got. Robin says, Dylan being as Jets want to concentrate on run and AVT excelled, I find it concerning that Myers has one of the absolute lowest PFF ratings in the run. Yeah, I'd have to go look at what Xavier Newman did in the preseason, according to PFF, and I'll have to go back and watch more of his film that I didn't really watch a ton of because I was anticipating him being 2 injuries away from the field. But let's see what we got. PFF preseason offense. So for the entirety of the preseason, Xavier Newman graded out with a 64.6% run block grade. So not great. He's kind of just okay, average, right? 60s in PFF is kind of average. So you don't love it, but that's what a backup is, unfortunately. I don't know how we got on this, but Tyler Shuck is definitely not good. I mean, Spencer Rattler, shout out to him. I loved watching him in college, his maturity and growth throughout college, coming from that Netflix documentary that he made himself look really bad to maturing and excelling under Shane Beamer at South Carolina. I really liked Rattler. So I'm happy that he's getting the chance to perform as the starter. Yeah, that's the other team, Jets Jesus. Thank you. The Cleveland Browns certainly would be another team I would put inside the Jets to pick. So if you're saying the Jets pick 4 or 5, okay, that's fine. I don't see it being all the way up at the top at number 1. And those same people, we all know who they are. The people that say the Jets are tanking for the number 1 pick are going to say that they'll mess it up too. So I think those guys are not fans of the team. I think they're fans of Jet misery more than anything else. David, the Saints could be better than most project, but I just don't see it. They're aging. They got a pretty rough offensive line. Obviously, Rattler's not, a killer as a passer. He's good, but he's not a killer. So maybe they surprise people. I think they always play tough. As long as they got Demario Davis, I will be a fan. 56 is a great football player. One of my favorites. 100% Allen. This is the mentality. Obviously, that the players need to take up. Jets can look long-term all they want. Like fans, rather. They can look long-term all they want. We can look 4 drafts ahead. Who cares? But the team right now, this is the exact mentality. Do not care about the season. It's 1 week at a time. Jets and Steelers are all that matters until Sunday night. It's a winnable game at home, 100%. And even Rodgers said it in his media availability earlier this week. He's like, 5 p.m. come Sunday on September 7th, it's going to be on to the next one. So, it really doesn't matter. It's all about this one game in front of them and then figuring it out for week 2, 100%. This is a great question from AG. Who are your offensive and defensive MVPs for this game for the Jets? Defensive, I'm going to go Quinnen. I think he's going to have to play a really good game. Both phases, run and pass. Offensively, I'm going to say Olu needs to be the offensive MVP. I think he needs to come in and prove that he's a top left tackle in this league. A lot of people think he could be a top left tackle in the conference, potential all-pro type of player in Olu. So I want to see the trenches win this game for the Jets. So I would say Olu on offense and Quinnen on defense as MVP. Yeah, Maisie, I think, and I tweeted this out, right? Connie Carberg, legendary Jets scout, right? We all know her story. She tweeted something out about, the human element of it, the side that AVT is now done for the year. And I quote tweeted it, and I said, a lot of times during these situations, the human element of football gets lost, and we just want to call a guy soft or injury prone or, shit all over his life. And we don't know what he's going through right now. He's, probably sitting in a hospital bed awaiting surgery, or, he's at home waiting for, the confirmation that he's going to need surgery. So it's tough. You'd never want to see it. And when these guys have all this money on the line, it definitely sucks. Let's see what else we got. Alan says Frazier versus Quinnen is a fun matchup, much more competitive than Myers and Hayward, excuse me. I guess they're both going to be, the defender has the advantage in both matchups. So I don't know. I'm not that confident in Frazier, and I think Quinnen Williams is just as good as Hayward at the later stages of his career. Although there was a report, somebody mentioned that Hayward was on a podcast or a radio spot, and they asked him if he was playing on this Tuesday. So was it yesterday? They asked him if he was playing on Sunday, and he said, "We'll see." That could be gamesmanship, but I think there's something. Maybe it's like a contract dispute with Hayward that he wants to get paid. So, Yeti, what's up, man? He says, "Hey guys, hey Dylan, can I talk about food or no?" Sure. What's on your mind, food-wise? Let's see. Yo, Holmes, anyone else believe the Steelers are going to blow this season? I think that's people are, hedging their bets. I guess I'll put it that way with the Steelers. Like they're saying, yeah, they could be 500, but there's always the chance that the bottom falls out on Mike Tomlin. David, yeah, the Saints O-line could be decent. I hate Trevor Penning. He was one of my nightmare picks in that draft, and it really hasn't worked out for him. But they got Talize Falonga, and they have another guy. I think that they just drafted. Right? Why am I blanking on their other tackle's name? Is it Kelvin Banks? Is that who they got? I think they got decent tackles. I don't love Penning. So maybe I'm being too negative because of one player. Allen says Steelers third in the North. I think that's fair. Cleveland's in the basement. Cincy's probably second, and Baltimore would be first, in my opinion. Yeah, it was Calvin Banks. Thank you. Yo, Holmes says Fields will be the MVP of the game. He has to be. Yeah, he definitely needs to be better than most people expect him to be. But this is a good one, Alan. Nick Folk MVP this week, returning the Folk hero. Yeah, I love the fact that it's in MetLife. Pittsburgh is a hard stadium to play in. Shout out Doug Bryan. Breaking my heart in 2004. I remember exactly where I was that game. Yeti, we still have a solid starting five. Got to overcome adversity. Just another day in jet life. Mooj isn't going into the season like this. Trust. What else can we do? I agree. I still think it's solid starting five. You still lose your best player, but I still think the four pieces that remain are very, very solid. AG, if Olu leveled up his run blocking, that'll add a new layer to this team. Yeah, and from all accounts, right, Connor Rogers was one of the guys at camp who really shouted out Olu, especially in the run game. Yes, AG, I think we see a lot of RPO action, man. We saw the bones of it. I did a video of Tanner Engstrand's blueprint or potential blueprint for the offense, go back into I believe that's in the film breakdown playlist on my channel. You can see it. Usually the film breakdowns have a black background, right? The live streams are green. The news and like the breaking news and updates are usually the white background. And then the film breakdowns, whether it's pro or college, will be the black backgrounds. So if you go into my playlist of film breakdowns, you'll see the blueprint for Tanner Engstrand's offense. And it's the cut up of the Giants game as well. That'll have it in there too. A lot of RPO potential, right? Where they were just showing the vanilla concept, handing it to the running back. But there was the potential for Fields to keep it and run, or keep it and have an option to Braylon on a swing pass and things of that nature. So I would expect to see a lot of RPO. Yeah, you're probably going to double team Hayward. You're certainly right there. Yeti is thinking with his stomach. That's funny. AG says, how often do we see Beck game 1? It depends. Do they actually view Jeremy Ruckert as, tight end 1 or tight end 2? Because then you might see Beck as the third most used tight end. So it's either 21 personnel where they have him in the background or backfield as a fullback, or in 13 personnel where he's attached to the offensive line. So percentage-wise, maybe 12% of the time we see Andrew Beck, which I think I would increase. But that's just me assuming that they think Jeremy Ruckert is going to see the field more often than Beck. Yeti, I'd actually rather talk football. Go figure. Well, I like that. You're in the right place to talk football. We're going on about 100 plus minutes of straight football talk, so happy to have you here, Yeti. At this point, we're probably just going to go to the 2-hour mark. So we got about 20 minutes left, 15 minutes left. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Smash that like button. Please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 before the season. Again, lofty expectations, but this is certainly way more than I would have anticipated my channel growing since I started it in May. I just came out of about the 100-day period, 120-day period. So I really appreciate all the engagement so far. You guys are incredible. All the people who have become a member of the A1 since day one community, $5 membership fee, and you guys get a lot of exclusive content. So I greatly appreciate everybody. You guys are awesome. 130 of you guys in the room across Twitter. I'm not linked to Instagram, but Twitter and YouTube, 130 of you guys. This is awesome. Greatly appreciate it. Refs will be the Steelers MVP. They always are. If that's the case, man, I'm going to be pissed. Thank you, Daniel, voice of reason. And if a Dolphins fan has to be the voice of reason for some of you guys, I think we gotta come correct with our attitudes then. But he says Glenn isn't tanking. I completely agree with you, Daniel. Hey, what up? What up, fam? Shout out Kev, one of my longest friends. 20 years strong. Kevin and I have been friends since I was 10 years old, watching the draft in his treehouse. We got to get Kevin a membership to this channel. So if we gift Kevin a sub, that'd be awesome. I'm actually working on getting t-shirts made up. I'm talking to a guy who's from South Carolina. He's honestly really slow at getting the work done. So I think I'm going to go elsewhere, but I am working on getting t-shirts. So as soon as I have the physical t-shirts and the ability to get them at will, we will be giving out DT t-shirts to those members in the chat, members of the A1 since day one community. And if we can gift Kevin a chat, or if any of my family members get a membership gifted to them by somebody in the chat, we will certainly work on getting them a free t-shirt. So happy to have you here, Kev. What's up, bro? Yo, Holmes, I'm about to take a huge bong hit. Wish me luck. Hold it in. And when you think you can't hold it in any longer, keep holding it in. And then pack that one up again for me and take another one. Thank you, Yo Holmes. I appreciate you always tuning in. Sharon, I don't know if the first part is true or the second part, but that would be very interesting. Rodgers gets benched and they finish the season with 5 wins. That'd be crazy. Alan, I'm going to say he gets 1, at least 1. So I'd go with the under. I don't think they'll get multiple roughing the passers. I don't think so. I agree, AG. That's how they should use Beck as a fullback tight end hybrid. Charles, I think you're galaxy brain in this one in the wrong direction, my friend. I don't think AG is tanking whatsoever. Yeah, the name of the game is getting a franchise quarterback, but the Buffalo Bills went to the playoffs with Tyrod Taylor and then traded up for Josh Allen. So Yeti says, I'm still really positive about this game. Pitt in week 4 or 5, maybe not. Those pieces won't gel week 1. We got a real shot if you could score 17 or more. 100%. 100%. Rodgers in week 1 is the perfect time to get him. And we think we can take advantage. I absolutely agree with that. Kevin says, if you know, you know. Yes, sir, buddy. Appreciate you, bro. Nate, probably not. I don't have the strings to pull those types of I don't have those capabilities yet. I don't have those facilities, Nate. I'm not built like that. But you can get an item from me. You can get a nice DT shirt, which Nate, you already are on the list. I put in that first order of about I think 12 t-shirts, and you're on that list, Nate, because you became the first member of the A1 since day one community. So I anticipate a lot of advertising on your bike there when you're riding through New York wearing my t-shirt. Much appreciated, bro. Thank you. Yeah, AG, I think there is something to do with the fullback usage. I think at the end of the like right before the season, the 53 came out, rather, the initial 53. I think a lot of content creators, a lot of beat reporters were predicting Andrew Beck to get cut and brought back, kind of like Nick Bawden. That was not what they did. So I think there's definitely a case to be made that Beck has a significant role in this offense. Yo Home says, watch the draft from a treehouse. Yeah, his dad, it was a treehouse attached to the barn. So like there was electrical in the barn, and I believe his dad just ran the electrical to the little TV that we had in there. It was like a little Toshiba with a built-in VHS little TV, and we'd put it out on the balcony of the treehouse, and we'd be playing in the backyard, listening to it. That's how we consumed the 2006 NFL draft, the Brick and Nick draft for sure. Bill M, that all counts the same, man. Your viewership is much appreciated. You're in here before anybody else commenting away, so I appreciate that, Bill. Thank you. Yo, Holmes, I give the best advice when it comes to that stuff, man. I appreciate it. AG, any players I'm super high on for fantasy this year? Well, now that all my drafts are done, I can kind of spill some secrets. I've always been pretty high on, Chase Brown. I had him last year, and I hit struck gold with Chase Brown in the later rounds. Guys I'm really high on this year, Emeka Egbuka, RJ Harvey. Who else? There's a lot of rookies that I like this year, actually, in fantasy. But yeah, I would say Egbuka and RJ Harvey are the two. I don't draft tight ends until the end. If there's 10 teams in the league, give me the 10th best quarterback, give me the 10th best tight end, and I'll make it work with my skill position guys. So yeah, if you want a wide receiver, I'd say Egbuka. If you want a running back, I'd say RJ Harvey. So 2 rookies for you. I don't think it's an alternate universe PBM. I think it's just the actual universe. And I wish we could multiverse and be in a world where the Jets aren't cursed. That'd be nice. Let's see. Yes, Alan. Chiefs went to the playoffs with Alex Smith and then traded up for Patrick Mahomes the next offseason. It can be done. It's, your draft selection slot is not set in stone. You can do a lot to get up. And hypothetically, right, we saw Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas go all in for Aaron Rodgers. They drafted a guy, it didn't work, so they went and traded for a guy. Now, AG signed a guy in free agency, and if that's not the guy, they might, try to trade assets and come up into the first round and get their quarterback. So, yeah, I agree. It's not about where the draft selections start, right? When that first initial tweet about the Jets' stack of picks. It's not about where they start. It's about what that pick actually becomes by the time you get to April. And a lot of things change. Bill M., I believe that is actually true. You were the first super chat. Maybe we will have to get you a DT shirt for sure. A lot of firsts get the DT stuff. Like Boy Green was the first subscriber to the channel, so he got a DT shirt as well. AG, that's a good one. Luther Burden, that's a good one. He's later on in the drafts, but I think like his ADP later on in the drafts versus the ADP of like Roma Dunze, I would take Luther Burden. Igbuka reminds you of JSN. Is that just because they both were Buckeyes and they played in the slot? No, I think they have a good pipeline of quality guys coming out of Ohio State. Oscar the Grouch, as of right now, is Tony Adams expected to start over Malachi? Yeah, I think he's going to get the start, but I think Malachi will have a role. Yeah, the Alex Smith injury was absolutely brutal, but that happened after Mahomes was already in the league because Alex Smith started the whole season when Mahomes was a rookie in 2017, and then his first year starting, it was in 2018. And I think Alex went to Washington, and that's where he sustained that nasty injury. And the fact that he was even able to play football after those surgeries is just crazy. Christopher, is Mason Taylor a good enough blocker at this point to help Chip Watt? I think they're all solid enough blockers. I have the least amount of confidence in Jeremy Ruckert, unfortunately, to do the job, but I still think he can get it done if he's just chipping and releasing into the flat on a route pattern. So Spencer says, DT, I think Myers at center and Tippmann at guard will work out in our favor. Yeah, at the very top of the show, I talked about what the possible combinations were to combat the injury to AVT. And I do think the most likely scenario is Myers at center, Tippmann at guard. Although there's a case to be made, Tippmann stays at center, Myers stays on the bench, and Newman comes in at guard. And that's just more for the insurance policy of what happens if Tippmann or Myers gets hurt, who then comes in to snap the ball. AG, any surprise Pro Bowlers who emerge on the roster? Surprise? I guess maybe Olu would be a surprise. Although I think the expectation should be for him to be in that conversation. So I would say Olu. Trying to think of a defensive guy. Will McDonald, I don't know if that'd be a surprise to some. All-Pro is always really hard because of the, Myles Garrett's and TJ Watts of the world. So if McDonald could be a Pro Bowler, that'd be huge. Michael Carter, if he could be a Pro Bowler, that's huge. I guess a surprise that I think could happen is Andre Cisco. I think Andre Cisco could be a Pro Bowler. He could lead this team in interceptions if he plays like he did 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And not last year where like everything kind of went to shit for Jacksonville. Oscar, I don't know. I was a little surprised by PBM's distaste for the other caller, although I thought that was hilarious, and he brings up valid points. Charles, I will not be marketing that as the group of members here. Absolutely not. A1 since day one. Sounds a lot better than what you're putting out there, and I'm not going to put that on the screen there, but I do appreciate it. Alan, I'm almost positive Newman has taken snaps at center before. Yeah, Kevin says Cisco. I assume that's about the surprise Pro Bowler. Yeah, Oscar. Yeah, I don't know if it's a surprise, but Michael Carter for sure. I love Michael Carter. I think the communication that was missing when he and CJ Mosley were out last year is going to be a huge part of why the defense is back to form. Yeti, is Jacoby a real thing? Well, he did. Like, him requesting the trade is a real thing. It doesn't look like the Raiders seem like they want to honor the trade request, and I don't know if the price point in terms of draft capital to get him and then having to pay him an extension that you would assume is in the 20 mil plus range per year. I don't know if the Jets are willing to make that kind of move right now. Jojo, of course, we always love having you in the chat. Thank you so much. You put the yawning emoji. I don't know if you're getting sleepy or not, but I'm getting tired too. It's almost 9 o'clock. I get up for work at 5:45, but I couldn't stop. You guys are full of life in the chat tonight, so I had to keep going. We're almost at the 2-hour mark. I appreciate every single person tuning in. You guys are awesome. Like Ryan Koza saying, "What's up, Dylan? I appreciate you, man. How you doing?" And just like that, we're all caught up in the chat. If anybody has any last-minute thoughts about the Jets game, we'll get it in the last 2 or 3 minutes, but I will sign off if nobody has anything else. AG says, Dylan, with the talent we have on offense or on defense, and the team's ability to rush the ball, how do you think our ability to burn clock in close games pans out? Oh, and close games, yes. If you see the Jets with a second half lead and they can sustain 8, 10, 12 play drives, chewing up 5-6 minutes of clock, and then that drive ends in a field goal, I think that's music to our ears, right? I don't want to say it's a race to 20 every game, but you are going to have those types of games, right? The defense is built to eliminate a ton of scoring. So I think the fact that you can lean on your defense and run game is going to be huge. And if the Jets ever make it to the playoffs, that's the same formula I want them to deploy: defense and run game. Yeti says Cisco's the real deal. Don't let one play sway. Tony knows that was on him. I don't think it was Tony Adams' fault. I think it was a cover 3 look. And I'm not saying it was Quantez's fault, but I think that's the guy that he was supposed to pass off with. And then Quantez was supposed to break off and get the wheel route that Cisco was running over to get. I believe that's how that play went out. I think Tony Adams was a box safety that whole play. Yeah, AG and the discipline, accountability, those types of things, that's going to take the Jets a lot further than anything else. Jets worldwide, wide. I got the hat. I wore it on my earlier stream, but we'll pop it on for you. Shout out Snowball in the chat. Appreciate you. Everybody go get yourself a Jets Worldwide hat because they are so fresh, so clean. Dylan, would you be surprised if we win this game wire to wire? No, I don't think I would be. If the Jets come out on defense and stop Rodgers, and then they go down and they kick a field goal, and they're somehow able to maintain the lead the whole game, no, I don't think I'd be terribly surprised. There's certainly games that you can see the Jets doing that in, or, the potential to do that in, and this is one of those games. If it's a 50-50 kind of coin flip to me, yeah, the Jets can control it. I think wire to wire just meaning we start the game with we don't surrender the lead. We get it and we never give it back. And, it's probably asking a lot of the Jets, but I don't think it's impossible, right? Especially if Rodgers doesn't look like a well-oiled machine on offense against us. Spencer says, I think the Mick, I believe that's McDonald, will have a great game Sunday. Rodgers looks old and slow on Twitter videos. It's over for old man Rodgers. I would love nothing less than Will McDonald beating Broderick Jones for a sack of Aaron Rodgers. That would just bring all those draft day narratives back full circle in the Jets' favor. And I think they still got the better player out of that deal anyway. Broderick Jones was traded up right in front of them, and the Packers took Lucas Van Ness. So I really think the Jets got the better of that deal. Alan, I disagree with your take on the Jets Worldwide hat. Ryan says, I still feel like we will beat the Steelers if we could pressure Rodgers and we don't turn the ball over. 45 run plays and some competent passing. We ran the ball 40 total times against the Packers, and then we ran it 33 times against the Giants, and then we ran it 28 times against the Eagles. So, yeah, that averages out to about 32, 33 a game. I could see it being a little bit closer to like 36. Neutral game scripts are going to dictate that, right? If you're close, if you're within 7 points, either way, you can still run the ball effectively, hopefully so. Alan says, I look forward to seeing Sauce travel for once. That will be awesome. He has traveled before. I mean, he traveled his very first career game against the Baltimore Ravens. They had him one-on-one in a red zone rep against Mark Andrews, and he had a really good pass breakup. So they've done it. They've done it since the jump, just not as much as we like. But, yeah, I agree. Travel with DK Metcalf, put him in a bind, and I really appreciate it. And I really think, that we will see Sauce get the better of DK. I started reading another chat as I was finishing that thought. Robin says, I don't know what the T/C stands for, but good stuff. Peace and love, fellow Jetsters. Peace out. Appreciate you, Robin. Thank you for hopping in. I appreciate your viewership. With that, we are just over the 2-hour mark. You guys are truly incredible. Says there's still about 140 of you guys in the room. I appreciate it. I wish I could go longer. My voice is starting to hurt, and I got to get to bed to go to work tomorrow morning. Final day of work for me this week. I have off on Friday before I head to to Charlotte Airport to fly into Newark for the Jets game this upcoming weekend. I will have a pre-recorded video on Friday morning. I've been talking to a guy on Twitter back and forth. His name is Drew. He goes by All22 Drew on Twitter. I'm looking forward to having him on Friday morning. It's going to be a pre-recorded episode. We're going to talk about the defense. He's a defensive coach. So we're going to talk about the defense, the responsibilities in the AG Wilkes defense. It's going to be pre-recorded, but that should hit your feed on my channel sometime Friday morning before I head out to the airport. So be on the lookout for that. I'll have any breaking news that comes out between now and then. Yo, Holmes. No, I'm not bringing my clubs, man. I don't check bags when I fly. I just go personal item and a carry-on. So I have a backpack full of my recording equipment and then my duffel bag full of clothes. So no golf clubs this trip. Anytime I drive up to New Jersey, I will bring my clubs for sure. Jets Worldwide, you know it, man. Love you and Johnny Boy. You guys are awesome. We'll have to chop it up soon, Jets Worldwide, but love the hat for sure. All right, with that, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe if you're new. Consider $5 to become a member of the A1 Since Day One community. Lots of film breakdowns to get on there, exclusive content, I will certainly be pumping that out and promoting that. I appreciate everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Try not to slide with this AVT news, guys. We can hold it together, and who knows, even if we beat the Steelers, maybe we can get that pendulum swinging back up into the optimism. So appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Love you all. A1 since day one. Shout out to all you guys. Thank you so much. And until next time, let's go Jets.